So I look after digital innovation for a company called DCC, and I'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. So the session I'm going to talk about is, it's definitely probably not going to be amazing, but hopefully we'll learn something maybe it can be quite a bit cathartic. But and I feel a bit inadequate because I've not got any AI and I've not got any really cool marketing tactics that I'm going to talk about. So I kind of last minute panic think maybe I should just shove a load of AI and a load of data diagrams in. But what I'm going to talk about is probably who's in B2B or has B2B responsibilities. Oh, cool. So at least we'll talk to the right people. I feel the biggest challenge, I've been in B2B marketing, say, about 20 years, and I have a big community of network externally. And I feel that the biggest challenge that we face as B2B, and I hope you're going to nod when I say this, is internal sponsorship, support, trying to persuade maybe the naysayers and a different type of demographic within the business. And when I talk to people at the post office or just to Barry at John Lewis, I think there's a different challenge there about execution, because in B2C, I think if you're on a B2C board, you'd have to be a bit silly to not understand that marketing is the engine for growth. Whereas I feel like in B2B, there's still a bit of work that we have to do as B2B marketers to get the right sponsorship. So I'm going to talk a bit about things I've picked up, things that we've tried that help get sponsorship for doing really cool shit. So if you did want to hear about AI and stuff, I think there's another masterclass that I'd forgive you if you ran out and went there. So a little bit about me. Oh, right, I haven't got AI, but I've got movies. So I've got a sprinkling of movies. So whoever's brave enough to guess all the movies correctly, I've got a prize. So I work for a company called DCC. We have lots of different businesses within our business. And one of the arms that we have is we distribute cool tech products. So Sonos, Xboxes, really cool. So we have loads of aged stock. And the aged stock's like really cool products. So I'll get you a prize, whoever's brave enough to guess all the movies as we go through. So someone can go first if they want. Yes. So a little bit about me before we start. So I work for a company called RS that I spent most of my career with, B2B distributors, so buy from vendors, sell to customers, the customers are B2B. Think of like Doc from Back to the Future, like designing stuff, we'd buy from RS. And the other persona we'd sell to is like normally a dude in a factory with a big set of overalls, like trying to fix stuff in a factory. So really cool company, but quite a boring product range. About as sexy as it got was like tools and lubricants, and it wasn't even like that kind of lubricant, it was like mechanical lubricant. So then I moved to a company called DCC, £22 billion company. My story down the pub is always I work for a company you've never heard of. So DC, RS are FTSE 100, DC are FTSE 50, and DCC acquired about 350 companies over the space of 20 years. From a very small family in Ireland. No one knows how they got the money, Mafia. But they got loads of money. They acquired 350 companies, a 22 billion, really cool, massively federated, but really cool brands. So JBL, Harman, Xbox, Samsung, Apple, any tech product you can imagine, we basically distribute. So we buy for them and then we sell it, and we're responsible for distributing through warehouses, but also doing all their sales and marketing. It sounds like fake news, like why would Xbox want us to do their marketing for them? But I'll talk about that a little bit more. So that's my kind of career background. The diagram there is meant to be like digital. I've always been around like digital innovation, data, those kind of roles. So I probably could have winged it and done loads of data and AI stuff, and like I'm involved in that kind of stuff, but I feel like the stuff I'm going to talk about is actually the biggest part of my job and probably the biggest challenge in the job. Then a little bit that's connected. I think digital and innovation and data, I think, is synonymous with D&I. So I'm a massive D&I advocate, and I think if you have the right people and diversity of thought, and I thought Rob was amazing actually, a bit inadequate, like following someone who works in like such a cool brand. But when he's talking about personal brand and Formula One, trying to diversify the people within it, and that drives innovation. I'm a massive believer of that. And then at the bottom, you kind of see a little bit about my purpose. I've got 3 young kids, 2 daughters and a son, and the D&I bit obviously falls there because I think I and we probably all have a responsibility. How do we create more fairness and equality? 136 years, I think, before women will get paid the same amount as men do the job. So I'd like to be able to influence that in some way while I'm in the job. And then my primary purpose to try and work and present for inspired business media has been my lifelong goal, you see. So no, I think it's been amazing actually, like the breakouts and not sitting in a room from 9 to 5. And Martin at the back there was saying it's even great for him as the AV team to not be locked in a room. So yeah, I think it's been brilliant actually. So that's a little bit about me. So what I'm going to talk about is how do you convince B2B boardroom and like the really important stakeholders to get on board and do really cool things and innovate in B2B? Because I think there is a mindset sometimes in B2B that some of these cool things are not for us and will maybe slow follow or follow like a snail maybe like 20 years later. So that's what I'm going to talk about. So if I get into it, kind of, I think, movie? Yes. Well, so I'll have to keep a tag of like where those came from, and I'll work out who won, but it was kind of around there, wasn't it? Or you can maybe self-score, and I'll trust you. So I think kind of the greatest show, the reason I put that movie there is I think as B2B marketers, we're like inundated with like really cool shit that's going on, like, what is it, like $1 trillion of social commerce spend will happen in the next 12 months, and what 5 billion people on social platforms, mainly TikTok, and you know, people doing really good content pieces like we've seen from Rob earlier on, and Super Bowl adverts. And so I just think we're inundated, and it's really inspiring, like how fast marketing's working and data attribution. And then I think we're stuck in B2B at times. The mindset of our peer group and the boardroom is sometimes stuck in. Anyone? Close. No, yeah, not even, yeah, and maybe kind of you see Negin on the front slide, who's a young, top talented person in our business, but you know, generally B2B boardrooms are made up of relatively older white males, and especially in our business, it's made up of people that come from a distribution background. So they're incredibly talented at running warehouses and squeezing every penny out of like cost per serve, and working with people like the Royal Mail Group on logistics and warehousing costs. And therefore kind of there's a oil and water mix between some of these new people that we hire and data attributions. You know, we've got a lot of the platforms that you probably work with, and we've got people who want to do really cool stuff, and we've got social commerce, and then we have people coming into the business. And there's a lady who said we should do some really cool TikTok adverts, and I think we'll create some really great content about some of the stuff that we're doing. And and I could see it. They're speaking to a 55-year-old white chap who's lived in a warehouse all of his life and is running a business that's about 500 million. And some of the context I didn't share is most of the people in the senior boardroom, in our business at least, and it's similar in lots of other businesses, come through acquisition. So this guy has got about £30 million of cash in his bank, and is probably going to get another 30 million in 3 years if they hit their profit number. So you can imagine he's like massively motivated not to spend a penny, because every penny he spends puts his next 30 million at risk. And there's this girl going, we should just do like 50 grand of like ad spend on TikTok and see how it goes. And he's like, I'm not putting my 30 million pound at risk for your whimsical idea of just getting on TikTok. So I kind of sometimes, that's kind of some of the context where I feel like we're stuck in this space. So what I'm going to talk about is, how do you, no? Yes. I think you must be winning by now. So how do we, how have we, and what have I picked up on how do you motivate this group of people that may be the naysayers or maybe stuck in a different mindset? How do you get them motivated about doing this really cool stuff that's going to be a lot more persuasive, probably have better cost per acquisition, and create customer demand into the business? So I'm going to talk about 3 things where it's worked for us to be able to really motivate this group to do some cool stuff. The first one is creating and fear of change. And I'm normally like a super positive person, so I'm not normally someone that goes with the stick. But what I have learned is, like all of the studies say, the stick works better than the carrot, and therefore having a better balance of carrot and stick is much more effective than just having the carrot. So fear of change has worked incredibly well for us in the senior stakeholder group, of explaining to them 2 things. One, it's where the world is at, it's where our audience is hanging out. So I don't know if you guys have been exposed to it or what you hear, but you know, I've heard some amazing phrases from senior people in B2B across different industries, not just within our business, of social commerce isn't for B2B, B2B buyers don't hang out on TikTok, B2B buying cycles are a lot more technical than that, you know, digital media doesn't work. B2B has always been a salesperson's job, and it will always be a salesperson's job. That's how we grow business, through salespeople and banging the phones. So what's worked really well for us is trying to recalibrate that thinking by using 3 techniques. One is fear of change, where to show them the data of, you know, there's our customers are hanging out on TikTok. It's the space they are, and in a physical world, it's like the shopping mall they're all walking through every single day of their lives. And most people average screen time is like 5.5 hours a day. And there's loads of stats we could throw out, but for us that wasn't quite getting the traction, because you could see people saying, I get that's where people hang out, but when they're at work, they're on a desktop and their mindset's different, which probably most of you don't believe, but they believe our peers and senior people had this belief that when our customers are at work, they're a different beast than when they're at home, and they might be spending all this time on social platforms and digital media and using search engines, but they don't do that at work. In B2B, it's about the sales relationship. And obviously we persisted with kind of trying to get this traction right, but the thing that got us cut through that was really powerful, and it's really painful, isn't it? When someone else comes and says the same thing you're saying, it all of a sudden has so much more cut through. Well, this is a live example, and I was talking about Chatham House rules, but this is a true example of Microsoft, right? So the chap on the left was our senior contact, and you can imagine Microsoft's probably our biggest vendor. So we do everything from Microsoft, right? Like Teams and devices and Surface and Xbox. So you can imagine like anyone in our business is a bit like that anytime anyone from Microsoft comes in, right? So this chap was our senior contact. He'd come in, walk the corridor, sit in the boardroom, red carpet rolled out. And they flipped. They replaced this chap with Anjana on the right-hand side. Lady that grew up in Asia, obviously, moved to the UK, spends all her life on WhatsApp, messages us through WhatsApp, hardly reads her emails, and now is coming in like interrogating marketing spend, interrogating how innovative we are, what we're doing. The whole conversation changed. And what we do, we got her in the boardroom, and then we got a couple of customers, and we had a bit of a showcase. But as soon as like they could see this as a people change that our vendors and customers are, and I suspect most of you are quite data driven in this room. And we were using a lot of data, and the red points at the top is when we're using a lot of data, so the audience is changing. The way audience consumes data, the way audiences are persuading is changing. It's not all about banging the phones with sales. It kind of had a bit of cut through, but what worked really well was the qualitative of them seeing the whites of the eyes that someone like Anjan at Microsoft or some of our customers, the people at our interface, either in a customer or vendor, were starting to become a the mix was changing of less males, and it's not there yet, but more females, more people that are progressive in their thinking, and therefore if we're not round the table having as progressive an outlook on the way that we go to market, we're going to become irrelevant. And that really drove a change in our mindset. And the thing that broke the camel's back is one of our senior members went out to visit one of our customers. On the way, this senior member was talking about, you wait till we meet John. He's a stalwart of the industry, one of our biggest customers. Watch what John says, all about relationship. We walk in, John's been replaced with a 22-year-old lady who had absolutely no interest in speaking to our senior exec. But it was a death by 1,000 cuts, right? But we got there, and I guess my sharing of insight, which a lot of people have been generous to share with us, is the first bit where we've got motivation with our senior stakeholder group is showing them that the people are changing, not just through the data, but trying to get the emotional trigger for them that, oh shit, like our customers and vendors are actually changing, and the way that we talk to them has got to change. Because so we use Anjana, and she's okay with me using it. We use her in a lot of our presentations internally, where putting the real persona there, that if we don't change, Anjana will stop dealing with us as a vendor or a customer because our relevance won't be there. So that's the first bit. Did anyone guess the first film, by the way? Yeah. Second one? Yeah, you were definitely out in the lead. And then the second thing that we did was then more about the carrot, right? Which is, what's the benefit and what's the upside of doing this thing, and what's the return? Where we've hired data scientists, we've obviously bought all the attribution platforms, probably a lot of you are using, but really going to the depths of trying to prove through A/B testing and multivariate testing, and having marketing-only incentives, having sales-only incentives, having multi-channel incentives, where we could test, is marketing really driving increase in spend from a customer? Is it driving customer acquisition? Is it reducing churn? To really be able to prove that these new techniques of engaging with a customer on social platforms or via digital media or better content is actually driving an uptick in conversion, which I guess is kind of maybe bread and butter for a lot of people in this room. But for us, it was about investing. And really for my division, I had a choice. Do I invest more on execution, or do I invest more on proving that the execution works? And it was really tough actually, like because you're challenged, right? Because more on execution pays for itself and there's a real business case there. And you think by doing more, we'll win more hearts and minds. And actually it was, in a way for me, a bit of going slower to go faster, of investing more in the people that prove the value to then be able to scale it, rather than having the trust of the organisation. So actually we'll just keep doing, and they will believe it when they see it. So that was the second tip. And then the third thing that I think has been a real unlock for us is collaboration. It sounds a bit glib, but really more about adopting agile principles, in saying, rather than debate, is it sales or is it marketing? Is it sales, is it marketing, or is it our pricing team? Is it sales, marketing, pricing team, or is it our inventory team? We moved to much more of an agile approach, where actually, how do we break down the silos in our organisation? I know this sounds like a bit corporate BS, but the point is, what the big difference for us was, rather than having teams, we set a project team up, and that, obviously that language is a bit more familiar to a business, right? But what we did is we kind of set project teams up with a goal and said, you know what, there'll be a pricing, an inventory, a marketing, a salesperson in it, and we'll set them a goal to say, go and grow sales or go and drive customer acquisition. I'll show you an example in a minute. But there was a real difference in that for our organisation, where, one, we had the motivation because you kind of got senior stakeholders in the boardroom going, shit, I can see this because Anjana needs us to do this elsewhere stuff. We then had a load of data modelling that says, do you know what, if we use really modern techniques, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, like, we can actually get people to engage with us, and the data shows it. And then the third was really about proving it, which is all about execution, right? And saying, actually, we're going to put a squad on it, and we're going to try and move our energy from debating internally around, is it sales or marketing and internal politics? Actually, let's just put a squad on it, and let's see if we can get customer growth. And we probably don't need to worry too much about, was it Alexis as the marketeer, or was it Adam Robinson as the salesperson that got the customer? Because if the squad works, and we scale it, we don't have to overly worry about which part of the mix it was that worked. So the third was collaboration, or more adopting agile principles, which was, let's prioritise the customer over our internal politics and BS. Third, let's try and work in a squad rather than silos. So effectively, literally put the same t-shirt on, and it's a bit cheesy, but we literally brought everyone the same squad t-shirt. And the third was move away from documentation. I think Barry at John Lewis did a great presentation earlier, where he was saying, if your data team's doing a lot of presentation, sack them, because the trick is in the doing. And so the third principle Agile we adopted, which is execution and show us the results, and don't worry about pretty PowerPoints. So I've only got 5 minutes, so I'll kind of whistle stop you through an example of one of the initiatives that's worked incredibly well for us, where we've adopted these three things, right? We, I guess as the kids say, gaslit the board into showing them that our competitors are doing, using a lot of really super modern techniques to acquire customers, and we're getting left behind, and Anjana's going to be like really pissed. Second, using the data to show what an average customer lifetime value is and what the benefit of that would be. And actually, when we have trickled in new customers through a pilot, it's really profitable for us. I mean, who would have thought in our business, our average order value is like £20,000. So like, you don't have to win too many customers to pay for your marketing spend. And then the third is we put a squad on it. So we said, right, tell you what, trust us. We'll call it lead gen. Give us a squad, marketing, sales, pricing, and give us a goal and give us some spend, and leave us to it. We'll use modern marketing techniques. We'll hire some new, fresh talent. We'll put them in a virtual room, and we'll give them the same t-shirt, and we'll say, just let them go at it, right? And we kind of said, you know what, and don't worry about which part of the mix is working, because we'll call it it's a multi-channel gig. Because in B2B, in a way, the old guard are right. It's never going to be all marketing in B2B, because it's a much more of a complex consultative sell. I think Darryl was talking yesterday about one of the blood consumer products you're talking about. There are such complex journeys even in B2C, but in B2B, I think people believe the journeys are way too complex for online only, right? So we kind of use this analogy of dating and said, like, actually, what we'll do is put the squad on, And what we'll do is we'll talk to the squad about which role they play, and then we'll let the squad figure out who's best to play which role. And you can probably guess in this room, right? Like marketing, in terms of dating, we'll get marketing to try and target get us as many dates as you can. Put as much good content, professional content, mind, like put like really good content out there to try and get as many customers hooked as you can. Fill in a lead form, come to a webinar, come to a seminar, and then what we'll do, we'll kind of sprinkle our human touch across it. And as you can probably see, as you get to the right-hand side of the slide and you get to the real consultation, technical design, richer conversations, that's where we should use our high-cost human touch effort. But marketing still has a really clever role to play in the automation that it provides and the super timely, relevant marketing it provides. But the point here is, if I go back to the squad, what the squad is doing is figuring out how do we use really modern techniques, how do we use human touch, how do we use really technical people to do design consultancy, and how do we use like marketing automation and really clever triggers throughout and build the process. And the beauty here is, I mean, it helps when you've got Michael Douglas helping you. But the point is here, we managed to get a squad to do really innovative things. We managed to get the business to give them the freedom through kind of the fear of change, the data that shows us a benefit in doing it, and allowing a squad to go and really run at it and do really modern, cutting edge things. And that squad has freedom to go and burn a few £1,000s on TikTok or on Instagram, as long as they start to hit our lead gen budget. And I won't be doing this presentation if it wasn't a success, but I mean, like on most fronts, it's been an incredible success of customer acquisition. And you can see our customers' numbers shifting and was winning customers. I mean, there's plenty to optimize within the squad. But the biggest thing for us is it's been... Yes, you can't answer the last one. It's not like next goal wins. But the point is, and that's my last slide really, which is the beauty of it was that we got the audience, we got our internal audience and our boardroom to a point where initially, or where we were starting, there was a perception that modern marketing and investment in whether it's TikTok or social commerce is not relevant to B2B. It's all a technical sell. It's all about the sales team and banging the phones. We got them to a place where they were lightly in fear of actually needing to play with this thing and have a go, because they realised it plays something in the mix. They've seen the data that suggests the cost of acquisition and the benefit to the business of more customers, more margin, more profit. Seems like it's worth having a go. And the third thing, getting the business to give us the right of execution to say, actually, let's put a squad on it and really go at it, and empower the squad of really talented people and move away from the internal debates of is it sales, is it marketing, is it profitability. So they're the things, hopefully they were useful. And then my last point was just, and some of it was about internal relationship equity, right? Like the more you have a relationship with someone outside the boardroom and outside of the meetings, which I think has become a lot harder since COVID and Teams. But the other thing I found is that in the senior stakeholder group, there are a lot of people that just do stuff for people. And it's not about the fear of change, and it's not about the model, and it's not about wanting to collaborate. Actually, it's just they do stuff for other people. Hence, you may not want to kiss them at work, but hence romancing, I think, has got a really big part to play, not just in marketing, but in managing your internal stakeholders. So I think you won, so I'll get you a prize. But that was me.